Staffy, GMF have made you famous on Facebook. Yeah, your video of wanting Casemiro out on Facebook today has done 100,000 views, I think, on Facebook. So,
I'm not even on Facebook, but thank you. Big up, guys.
some people are.
What did you say? What have I missed? What have you said?
He said that Casemiro should be sold. He wants Casemiro gone and out of Man United.
I said if Saudi's watching this video, and I'll say it for a third time, just to third time's always the charm. So if you're watching the Football Terrace right now, you got the peas. I know you got the peas. Come in and buy Casemiro. That's all I'm saying, bro. People don't want to listen to it.
Why are you saying that though? Isn't it not to be funny? Isn't it Ten Hag that's killed Casemiro right now by just leaving?
No, you know what's funny, Patrick. People now are repeating what I told them in preseason. This is the thing. I was talking to Don earlier. I told him this is the issue. I'm ahead of the curve, and people don't like that. They call me arrogant because I say things. I'll tell you this. Listen. I'll tell you this. Tell him. I'll tell you this because Don was laughing when I told him that. Listen, bro, I try to stay ahead of the curve, okay? So when I sit here and I talk about something, I usually have backup to it. I don't just talk out of my ass like that. Excuse me for the language. I kind of back it with facts before I even say my opinion. I told them in preseason that later in the season, it wasn't even later, it's the first two games. I told them people are going to start having conversation about Casemiro. They're like, no, it's preseason, relax. I said, we'll have conversations about him because not necessarily his fault, but the role that he's being given right now is going to make him look bad. 2 games in, he's starting to look bad. People now are saying what I said about a month ago. Now I'm on a different conversation. I'm on a conversation that he got beat about how many times was it? I posted on my Twitter. Go check my Twitter, and I put the clips with it. He was getting beat 1v1. I posted at least 5 of them. He lost he had 4 of his 9 duels that he only won a pitch. 4 of 9 only. The ground duels, by the way.
Bissouma was playing like it was. We've got a place called
They destroyed him, bro.
We've got a place called Power League in the UK. 5-a-side football, 7-a-side football. Yeah,
100%.
Bissouma was playing like it was Power League, bro. He was just skipping past
He destroyed him, bro. And it wasn't just him. Okay. His awareness of where Madison was at times made his positioning look bad. So he was either losing his one-on-ones or his position was not good enough.
You know what? I think I want to respond
to this, Terry. And by the way,
I want to say one thing about Staffy or Nostradamus, whatever we're going to call you today. I want to say this. I understand where you're coming from, but this is where I have issue with you. Because when it comes to Sancho not performing, you blame the system and the manager's got to change things. Hang on. I've heard you on the show before. When it's Sancho underperforming because you love him, it's the system and the manager and play him in the right position. Casemiro is being hung out to dry by this system right now because we ain't used to it. But instead of saying the manager has got to make changes to ensure we get the best out of Casemiro, your reaction is sell him. So why would you? That's the only issue I've got with what you're saying is that when it's a player you love, you blame the system and the manager and you should change to accommodate him. When it comes to Casemiro, you're like, fuck the system, fuck the manager, sell Casemiro. That's the only element I take issue with. You're not consistent with your logic based on how you emotionally, the love you feel for them, the other men.
But that's not true because I'll tell you something. For the Wolves game, I didn't blame him. I said he was hung out to dry. I agreed with you. I went back and I watched that Spurs game. And I even showed Don. I'm telling you, we were talking about it before. I was like, go look at where he was positioned. He dropped in off the ball. He dropped in as a second pivot the whole game. So he was doing that double pivot role, which is why in the first half, especially, we were not exposed. So off the ball, he did get the support that he was supposed to get. But when people argue me, they're like, oh, well, he lost his duels because he got no support. You don't need support to defend someone one-on-one. He's slow. He's looking sluggish. He's looking like he lost a yard of pace. And that's age to me. So I was blaming him for things that were different at the beginning of the season. I defended him. I said it's not his fault. Yeah, but now I'm blaming for last game.
You could be right. And if you are, then you know what I'm like on here. I'll say, well, you got that right. For me, though, I think the whole team looks a yard off pace. And and this is what I would say. I'm not focusing purely on individuals right now because I can see issues with a number of peoples. We just don't, whatever reason, I don't know why, we don't look fit. And that's a bigger concern to me than anything else because everyone else looks fresh. In terms of transfers, Northside's here with us now as well. I'm going to bring him into this. We're not quite ready yet. I'll bring him in just a second. In terms of Man United, there's some information that just come out here from Sky Sports that says Bayern Munich are no longer ruling out the departure of Ryan, Gravenberch this summer. 2 Premier League clubs are interested. We know that's Man United and Liverpool. United are also looking at Amrabat, but they haven't progressed. are they the right profiles to improve this Man United team? What do you think, Mo? Are them two together, could they help the midfield be stronger and stop us being run through like we are right now?
No, 100%. You need a couple of people that will control the ball. Amrabat before Gravenberch. Watch some of Gravenberch. He's a good player, young, has potential, but I think Man United are making a terrible mistake if they don't go for Amrabat now in this window. It's a terrible mistake. I like the player. In the first 2 games, Man United for me looked the worst out of the top 7 clubs, including Newcastle. It's not about the result. I'm not assessing the results. I'm not assessing chances. If you ask me what is Man United now, I tell you I have no idea. It looks like the Thomas Tuchel of Chelsea. There was no style. Last year, at least, you had control of the game. You knew where the ball is going. Yes, you created chances, but there is no style. Someone like Amrabat will help you with that. For Casemiro, you need someone next to him because if anybody plays football, they know that the defensive midfielder should not be marking one-on-one the whole game, and Casemiro was. And any defensive player with a player running at him 3-4 times, he will get dribbled. Defensive midfielders cover spaces. They don't cover man-to-man. That's why Casemiro looked terrible, and that's on the manager and on the lineup he played. You definitely need both, if I'm looking at it now, because Mason Mount should not be in that midfield in any way or shape at all. If he plays, Bruno Fernandes should go somewhere else. They both cannot play next to with Casemiro. You need both, but there's only 11 days, like 9 days left in that transfer market. And why Amrabat is not at Man United yet? It's the question I keep asking.
You know United though, Mo, innit? You know United. They love their little, leaving things to last minute and then.
But Don, can I ask you something? It's 2 games now. They don't get Amrabat. There's a 3rd game coming.
I agree, bro. I agree with you.
Mo, by the way, Mo, I also have an apology for you. So you questioned it on the last Top 6 show. Why didn't we bring Amrabat in before Mason Mount? And I spoke about it on the show. Afterwards, I sat there and thought about it. I was driving to London. I had to go and see my auntie. And the more I thought about it, I was like, nah, Mo's right. This is a mistake from Ten Hag and the club. Amrabat should have been the first purchase of the summer. I know we need strikers as well, but from a midfield point of view, we should have brought him in first. In fact, Amrabat and Ryan Gravenberch collectively are actually cheaper than Mason Mount. And that there is a mistake that has to be called out, especially if what you've said, if we don't bring them both in and we've got a hole there still, it's a poor mistake and criticism needs to be had. So, yeah, for me, I completely agree. I think they're both excellent players, very different to what we've got. And they're definitely, and I think you throw them two into our midfield. And I don't think, I think the Casemiro conversation will disappear.
Yes, guys, I want to add something to this, right? Why we have like energy when it comes to Arteta about shoehorning Havertz into the system. Why we don't have the same for I like Ten Hag. Last season I kind of like I'm on the Ten Hag wagon because I saw the footprint. But now I'm seeing Ten Hag trying to play Mason Mount and trying to play Anthony and Mason Mount. Now it's 2 games, only small sample, but this is what I can analyze. He is trying to play both of them to justify the purchase. And I'm like, but it's not working. You have no style with these 2 on the pitch. So, okay, why are we not criticizing Ten Hag? Try to find another place for Mason Mount then. If you're convinced that the player can give you something, everybody sees the same thing.
Sorry to interject as well. Where I also criticized Ten Hag at the weekend is he moved Bruno out to the right and not Mount, who's actually okay on the right. With Bruno Fernandes,
he's been better than Bruno on the right.
Yeah, what Bruno Fernandes is generally good at doing, and listen, I know it was offside, but like that pass he put into Rashford earlier on in the game, Bruno has that in the locker. Bruno can find those passes, putting them out to the right. Honestly, like that's where I have to criticize the manager. And I know some United fans won't want to hear that, but you can criticize a manager without wanting him to be sacked and moved on. But viewers, let us know what you think. Go on, mate. Go on.
Just to add to what Mo's saying, Mo's 100% right. Like you should have definitely brought in Amrabat first, because if you remember when Mount was brought in, a lot of United fans, even Chelsea fans, were saying, "Listen, you lot need to bring in Mount as like a supplementary to other midfielders. A little bit more quality. Mount's just like to improve the squad depth that you guys had in Scott McTominay, in Fred, etc., etc." But now you've got yourself in the pickle because everything that's coming out is you need to get rid first before you bring anyone in. That could be the reason why there's a big delay now in bringing in an Amrabat or bringing in a Gravenberch. Because this morning, didn't Samuel Lacroix say that if United wanted Amrabat, they would have him already? and you're struggling
Yeah,
to get rid of these midfielders.
United is a big
So,
club, Don.
Again,
It's
he
cheap.
did. What? Let me just say about
It is
Samuel
cheap,
Lock.
but why are
Hang
they
on,
taking so
sorry,
long?
Hang on,
Why are they
sorry,
taking
guys.
so
Let me
long?
just interject. When it comes to Samuel Luckhurst, he does have a lot of inside information and he is fairly credible, but he's also a known United. He doesn't like Man United. So he often writes things. He was one of those guys last year that no way Casemiro is ever going to pick United over Brentford or Tottenham. Why would he? So he's written a lot of articles like that before about us and not being right. So he's one of those hard people to take. As a United fan, you kind of see it because you know it's your own stuff more. But I get where you're coming from.